It's that time again. The NFL playoffs are starting in just a couple of days. A little bit more than it's a little bit more than 48 hours from now. We're recording this on Thursday morning. The playoffs are going to be 3 days now: Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday nighter to kick off Wild Card Weekend. And just like last year, back again, all three of us. Of course, you know who I am. You should. Greg DePalma here, along with Ryan Dunleavy from the New York Post, joining us once again. How's it going, Ryan?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good.
Terrific.
All things considered, I'm used to it. How's Mark?
Mark is doing just terrific, guys. Thanks, and hope everybody's looking forward to the playoffs. It's been a real exciting year so far. We'll see whether or not it rolls over into the playoffs as well.
Yeah,
Mark, is that a Babe Ruth photo behind you?
That is a Babe Ruth photo on one side and a Mickey Mantle photo on the other side. Okay,
those are cool.
Yeah. I'm a big, huge baseball fan, and what you don't see is a Bob Feller photo. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow.
And he was our hero in Cleveland, to say the least.
Any autographed there? Or?
Yeah, he autographed it. In fact, small story, I went to an Indian spring training game up in Winter Haven, and Bob Feller was there signing autographs. And $5 is all he charged for the autograph. $5.
How about that?
Yeah, it was kind of nice.
Wow.
The good old days.
Yes.
All right. I'm trying. As we do this, I totally forgot. I need to pick up our predictions from the beginning of the season. I'll find them somewhere. I'm sure we did really well. Okay, so before we get into our predictions for the playoffs, we're going to do all that. Let's talk about just timely news and headlines, starting with head coaches. So there's 5 openings, and big surprise, Jim Harbaugh's in the news again. And look, as you know, Ryan, I've been saying this for years. I'm so sick of it. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. This is the very first time that I think, especially after back-to-back playoff appearances, because my feeling was that he wasn't going to go anywhere until he felt that he did what he needed to do to leave the program in really good shape. Now, I figured that was a championship, but I'm starting to think that he might go now. This might be it for Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if it's Denver or Indianapolis or what, but what do you think? You think this is it for Jim Harbaugh?
I think he would have left last year. I think he would have took the Vikings job if the Vikings wanted him. And I think the Vikings picked Kevin O'Connell over him. So I think he would have taken that job. So, yeah, I think if the job is right, he'll leave for sure. Yeah, no, I definitely think so. I don't know if there's a job that is a perfect fit this year. We always say the Colts because he played for the Colts. But I don't know if him and Jim Irsay
That's
are the
true.
right mix.
Good point. Because if he's gonna leave Michigan, he's gonna have to go somewhere where he feels he's got like as much power as he can obtain, and also have a little bit of normalcy, if there is such a thing, with the ownership, and that's not Indianapolis. So, what do you think, Mark?
Well, I think he becomes enamored with each and every coaching job that opens up, and likes to hear his name being bandied about and put into the mix. Bottom line here is I know that all these allegations are coming up against Michigan, and it might be a good time to bail on the program, so forth and whatnot. But if they keep forking money over into him and renewing contracts and extending him and things like that, I kind of think he likes coaching college football more than he would in the NFL. But we'll see. The whole bottom line is the paycheck. And, his brother's in the National Football League right now. He'd probably like to join him there as well. So I wouldn't be surprised either decision that he makes, because I think his decision or mind changes with the temperature.
Yeah, so he's the biggest name next to Sean Payton, and he's going somewhere, right? Payton's got to go somewhere this year, right?
Oh, he's definitely going.
Where do you think he's going?
I mean, he could go back to New Orleans. People sleep on that. He could go back to New Orleans. If he wanted to go back to New Orleans, they'd bump Dennis Allen out in a second. It just doesn't sound like he wants to go back there. I think he ends up in Arizona. If only he had worked magic before with a short, undersized, big arm quarterback. If only he had done that once before. No, I think Kyler Murray makes a lot of sense with him. I think he'll see it as a chance to recapture Drew Brees' magic. No, I certainly think that's the job that I think makes the most sense. You could go to Denver, but I gotta say, man, the Denver Russell Wilson situation reeks of a coach who doesn't have a lot of other opportunities and is up against the timeline like this could be his last chance. And to me, that's Jim Caldwell. To me, that's he's in his late 60s. He's in his late 60s. He's a quarterback guy, like a young coordinator, a Ben Johnson of the Lions, a Mike Kafka of the Giants. I can't see them tying themselves to. They're going to get other opportunities. Are they going to take a chance on Russell Wilson being totally unfixable and the Broncos having no draft picks? Like, that is a situation that to me reeks of a guy who has no other option. And that's not Sean Payton. So I say Sean Payton to Arizona.
Yeah. That makes sense. Again, it is the best spot. If you believe in Murray, why not? Because the other four places, they don't have the quarterback set. So even though Wilson is the most established guy, but as you said, that's who knows what that's about. That's not good.
I mean, I think it's an excellent point, Greg, that Ryan brings up about the possibility of Peyton staying in New Orleans. When you're looking to rebuild programs and you want to rebuild with a person like Sean Payton, why not enamor the guy that's already entrenched in your home city? And I think he would be an excellent fit there doing just that as well. But I think his job that he's had right now, being a television analyst and so forth and whatnot, has been a real golden public relations opportunity for him to make himself appealing to every team that needs a coach. So he'll end up taking a very cushy job. There's no question. And I agree, it'll probably most likely be Arizona if it's not New Orleans. And it definitely will not be the Denver Broncos. I think that's a program that no one would want to touch right now. And a great point, once again, that Ryan brings up, possibly Jim Caldwell on the back end of his career, who could go in there and maybe try and fix Russell Wilson if he's fixable at this point. But there's one other coach out there I want to throw out there. I heard him in an interview on NFL radio, and he was terrific, and he was very, very impressive. He's the defensive coordinator from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think it's Lou Anarumo, I believe his name.
Former Giants defensive backs coach, Staten Island guy. Yeah,
it's really very impressive, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him land a head coaching job somewhere, especially because of the improvement that we're seeing from the Cincinnati Bengals this football season.
Yeah.
No, he got interviews last cycle. I know him a little bit from when he was with the Giants. Now, very, very impressive guy for sure. It's just a matter of so few of these hires are defensive coaches. I mean,
yes.
There's a guy right now. I'm telling you, owners are making a mistake not interviewing Wink Martindale. I'm telling you, it's a mistake. He has done so much with so little in the Giants. He's got a personality players flock to. He's a little older. He's a little bombastic. He's tied to Rex Ryan. I could see why owners are scared. But an Irsay-like owner who's not afraid to go outside the cookie cutter is making a mistake, not interviewing Wink Martindale.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, there are good ones. D'Amico Ryans as well.
I mean, D'Amico Ryans at the top of the board. I mean, anybody would be lucky to get D'Amico Ryans. It feels like he's going to go back to Houston because of the same kind of thing. He was a former star there, the same way we say Harbaugh was a former Colts star. But D'Amico Ryans, the Texans would be crazy not to hire him as long as he has a offensive coordinator plan to develop, what you would assume is going to be like CJ Stroud or Justin Fields or Bryce Young, whoever they end up with. As long as D'Amico Ryans has a strong offensive coordinator plan that isn't Mike LaFleur, then the Texans should hire D'Amico Ryans and move forward with a young coach. Stop firing guys every year.
Hey, thanks for putting a smile on my face again, because I was very happy to hear that news.
Well, wasn't Lovie Smith brought in knowing that he was going to be a stopgap head coach?
Yes.
No.
I mean, he may not have thought that.
No. Yeah, you knew that, and I knew that, and Greg knew that, and the world knew that. Lovie Smith did not believe that. No.
I've got you.
Yeah, that.
Wow.
And I would really, I just would love to know how truly Caserio felt. And just the top guys at Houston, ownership, how they felt watching that end of the game play out last week. I just would love to have been in the room.
I mean, you know the
I
answer.
know.
You
That's
know
why
that.
I just love to. What is that a-hole doing going for two? It's probably the reason they fired him too. They were probably this close to firing him, and as soon as they made that, as soon as he did, I don't even want to see that guy again.
What's the difference between the number 2 pick and the number 1 pick? Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, well, what you have to do is understand that you're going to have Bryce. Well, first of all, you'll have to get into the whole. We know that more than likely Chicago is not going to hold on to that pick if they can get a king's ransom, and especially if they can get that from any team, including Houston. And Houston is sitting there going, oh, yeah, but we want C.J. Stroud. That'll be okay. But you know how much they wanted Bryce Young. And now they'd have to give up who knows what to move up one spot because they won a meaningless game at the end of the season. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, we'll see how that transpires.
Well, that was likely Lovie Smith answer to management saying, okay, you guys are talking about letting me go. I'm going to leave you with the taste of letting me go.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Frank Reich, you think he'll get a job this year?
No.
He'll have to go back to being a coordinator first, you think?
I mean, guys don't necessarily have to do that anymore. He could just sit out a year and then, do some TV shows and whatever. And all of a sudden you sit out and then your warts go away for a year. That happens. I mean, that's what Doug Peterson did, right? And all of a sudden he was like a hot candidate. Yeah. So, I think you could just probably sit out a year and all of a sudden your name is like, oh, he had a lot of success with the Colts. And you forget how badly it ended. So I don't think he has to be a coordinator. I think he's probably will be a hot name in the beginning when mid-season next year when coaches start getting fired and you don't know what coordinators are available. You're like, oh, Frank Reich's out there.
All right. Now, as far as quarterbacks, that's going to be a big story this offseason. We have to hear about the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, which was not surprising, even though that money, the whole contract thing with him is just mind-boggling to think that another team or they could figure out a way to work around that. I have no idea. Anything can happen, I guess. But it will feel kind of strange if Aaron Rodgers comes back again and Love will be sitting around for a third straight year when at this point in time he probably is ready now. It's time. It's time to make him a starting quarterback. So gut tells you, Ryan, Rodgers will be back or not.
Yeah. Back in the NFL,
back with the
Packers. Oh, it's a real 50-50. I hate to say 50-50 things. You got to have an opinion in this world. I say yes, he's the Packers quarterback next year.
Mark?
I agree. I think reluctantly, and I don't think it can be much more than 1 year.
Yeah, that's it. One more year.
Jordan Love, the Jordan Love situation evolving and him looking like he is ready to take that step to become maybe, if not an Aaron Rodgers, at least a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL.
I don't think Jordan Love's there next year. I think Jordan Love's traded.
If they keep Rodgers, you mean?
Correct. If they can't have both of them again. So I think they reluctantly stay together and they trade Jordan Love, and whenever Rodgers retires, they'll have to find their next quarterback there. It isn't Jordan Love.
That's a great point.
Well, if they do that, then they would probably have to know though that Aaron's going to be there until he retires for a few years.
Correct. They wouldn't trade Love till Rodgers recommits, but I think that's what ends.
And now all of a sudden, now all the Tom Brady. I mean, every other hour, it's Brady to Miami, it's Brady to the Jets, it's Brady here, it's Brady there, and he'll probably stay at Tampa Bay. I don't know. What do you think about Brady?
I think he's the quarterback of the Raiders next year.
Wow, that would be awesome. Josh McDaniels, the Raiders, Tom Brady. Okay, what do you think, Mark?
I don't think Brady's finished. Number one, his ego doesn't permit or allow that. Number two,
he's divorced now. Why would you finish?
He's divorced, and he just got beat up financially with that FTX fiasco. He lost over $50 million with that. That's a big nut you have to recover, and he can make that up in a year or two in the National Football League. So we'll see Tom Brady playing in the National Football League, and the Raiders, like you say, Ryan, might be a good landing spot for him next season.
Okay, let's get into the playoffs.
It's the only reason to keep Josh McDaniel as the coach is the hope that you lure Tom Brady next year.
All right, playoff and look, there's going to be a handful of teams that when we talk in the offseason, depending of course on the roster changes, that we're going to look back and talk about all the can't misses, and the Raiders to be at the top of the list. Who else was up there as far as teams that lost a lot of close games? Because it's like the Raiders, and then there's a gap, but then there's still a bunch of teams. I mean, Cleveland maybe, Mark, Cleveland.
Well, close call games, the Browns were involved in a lot of them early, but it kind of leveled out a little bit going on down. Maybe not so much with Watson coming back, but just for the way that they played. The key to success in the one-score games has been a lot of these teams that made it to the NFL playoffs were obviously successful in those one-score games. You look at the New York Giants, they were in 13 one-score games. They went 8-4-1 for the season, 7-1 their final 8 one-score games. That's what catapulted them, I believe, into the National Football League playoffs, because it looked like after that great start, things were beginning to bottom out for the Giants, but they held true. And I think it worked real well for them. And it's, again, I don't know how you handicap that as far as moving forward in the playoffs, but it's at least what got you there. The Cincinnati Bengals 5-3 in one-score games this year, but 5-0 the last 5 they played. It was part of their run, this red-hot run that they had, the supposed red-hot run. But when we talk about them, I'm going to throw a wrench into this red-hot Cincinnati Bengal freight train that everybody wants to jump on.
Well, that's the thing. You mean they're jumping on my Cincinnati Bengals train?
Yes, they're jumping on your Cincinnati Bengals train.
Yeah. And you're going to try to. What are you going to do now?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out the fact that if you break down the Cincinnati Bengals, okay, and if you look deep inside their stats, like a doctor looks inside of an X-ray of a patient, okay, you look inside the Cincinnati Bengals and their body of work and what they did this year, you'll notice that when they played other fellow playoff teams and they faced 6 other playoff teams, they were out-yarded in 5 of those football games. They chewed up on the little kids, okay? But when they went up against quality playoff-type football programs, they were beat 330 yards in those 6 football games. And that's who they're in amongst right now in the NFL football playoffs. So I'm going to say that it won't surprise me to see Cincinnati trip up in the playoffs sooner than later.
Okay. All right.
They have beat the Chiefs the last 3 times they played.
I understand.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, they seem to have their number. And the most important thing, though, is that even if they're out-yardaged, as long as it's a close game and you get Joe Burrow with the football late in the game, you're feeling pretty good about Cincinnati's chances.
Yeah, unless Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen's on the other side.
Well, and that's what's going to happen. So
yeah, I mean, I feel good about Joe Burrow's chances against Tyler Huntley in a close game. Yeah, sure.
So Tyler Huntley doesn't scare you, is what you're saying?
No. I feel good about him. Even against Justin Herbert, I feel good against him. But Allen and Mahomes on the other side, I'm not sure. That's a last person with the ball wins.
How would you rank those 3?
For my power rankings in the post, I did Bills, Bengals, Chiefs.
How would you rank the quarterbacks?
Order. And the quarterbacks, that's I was just gonna say. How I'd list them as Super Bowl contenders, I'd go Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, and that's strictly because I'd go Mahomes, Allen, Burrow.
Mark?
I think Ryan's rankings are correct with the quarterbacks, and that's not at all to say anything negative about Joe Burrow, because he is the real deal. He's a young, aggressive Joe Montana is what he really looks like to me, pinpoint accuracy and all that good stuff. But as far as ranking those teams, it's my feeling, and I could be 100% wrong on this, but you've got all the makings in the Buffalo Bills with the football team that's playing with this huge emotional edge right now over the Damar Hamlin situation. They're going to play that card to the absolute max in the playoffs. And I think that, coupled with Josh Allen, will take Buffalo to the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, let's take a look at our preseason picks. So I had Buffalo over Philadelphia. No, midseason picks, excuse me. I had Buffalo over Philadelphia. Ryan had Buffalo over Minnesota. And Mark had Buffalo over San Francisco.
And these were the
mid-season picks. Yeah. So this is what we did in the beginning of the season. Let's see. What did we do in the beginning of the season? The beginning of the season,
We all had
we all had Green
right?
Bay, so that's
why we had to make midseason picks. Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go into that. All right. Anyway, but we all like Buffalo.
And
that was before the Hamlin thing.
I had Green Bay over the Chargers, so the Chargers are still alive.
Now, let's see who did we have as losers. Let's see.
Probably the Bills.
Yeah, probably. I had Buffalo over Cincinnati, and then Buffalo losing to the Packers. You had the Chargers over the Chiefs, and the Packers over Tampa. So you had the Chargers over Green Bay. You actually picked the Chargers to win the Super Bowl there, Ryan, not Green Bay.
I picked the Chargers over Green Bay. Huh? Okay.
And Mark, you had Buffalo over KC, Green Bay over San Francisco, Green Bay over Buffalo. So you and I both had Green Bay over Buffalo.
But at least none of us had Denver. That's good.
No. I don't even. Let's see if any of us had any. Let's see what our worst predictions probably were here. Let's see. Well, I had the Colts in the playoffs, in the AFC, and Arizona. Ryan had the Colts and Denver as a 6 seed. And then in the NFC, Arizona. And Mark, you had in the Colts. We all had the Colts. Pie on our face with the Colts. You also had Cleveland. And in the NFC, you had just the Rams, which is not a bad pick. But hey, by the way, McVay, is he coming back?
I think he may take some time off. That's what it appears to be like right now. I don't know if it'll be like a Sean Payton type of thing where he'll be out job searching thereafter. But it sure looks like, reading between the lines, like either he wants out or he needs some time away from the game.
Oh, he's way too young. He'll if he leaves, he'll be back in a year or two. But that should be interesting. All right, we'll keep an eye on that too. Forgot about that. And Vrabel's staying because we were wondering if Vrabel was going to leave. The GM had gone, but Vrabel's back. So, which is good. Good for them because Vrabel's not the problem. Okay, so we already kind of started with the AFC. So let's talk about. So you got these games this week, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but I think this is just this week's games are very kind of reminiscent of how the season's gone. AFC, NFC. I think you're going to have, you got the two big blowout lines, and I don't think anything's going to change result wise with Buffalo and Cincinnati. Then you do have the flip of the coin game with Jacksonville and the Chargers, whereas the NFC. I think it's basically Philly and San Francisco. I think you could put those two teams in the AFC. They're AFC caliber, but the rest of the NFC probably shouldn't even be there. So, but starting in the AFC, I'll besides the obvious, this is the tough one. Jacksonville, LA. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think they're getting healthy at the right time. They've got some more. They're going in with a little bit more veteran leadership than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's primarily a very young team, and Herbert's a better quarterback right now than Lawrence. Jacksonville probably kind of lucky to win last week. Maybe that's a good thing. Hey, you know what? We got experience in a big game, and we survived, and maybe that'll play out for them in a positive way this week. Staying at home, they got the edge at head coach. I completely understand that. Matter of fact. I know based on your playoff guide, the Playbook playoff guide, which is if you haven't already ordered it, I don't know what you're waiting for at playbooksports.com, because these little tidbits, like the fact that Doug Peterson has covered all 5 of his games as a playoff dog, very valuable if you're looking to wager on games this week or the rest of the way through the playoffs. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers, Ryan.
Yeah, I took the Jaguars. I picked the Chargers to win the Super Bowl in the preseason. I was high on Brandon Staley. I loved his aggressiveness. A lot of that has gone away this year, I think. Justin Herbert has not played quite to the level I thought. I know he had the injured rib. They lost. I don't know what the status is of Bosa and Williams. They played them in the meaningless regular season finale. I thought it was foolish. And let's call it what it is here. There's a little bit of uniform bias here where the Chargers just let you down no matter who the coach is, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the running back is. The Chargers just let you down in the playoffs. For them to go on the road and face the Jacksonville team that's won 5 in a row, I'm riding the hot team. I'm riding Jacksonville.
And I know you're doing the same, right, Mark?
I'm on the same Jacksonville Jaguar team here as well for a lot of the reasons Ryan just mentioned. Looking a little bit deeper into the makeup of the two football teams, you mentioned Doug Peterson. I think that's a huge coaching advantage. Brandon Staley may end up losing his job if for no other reason other than the weird calls that he makes, but if for no other reason because he's not going to maximize or hasn't yet the talent of Justin Herbert. He's got a gem there in the making here, and they almost didn't make the playoffs. And it was because the coach is getting in the way of what's going on there and not allowing him to be the best that he can possibly be. I also take a look at these two teams, and I see the Chargers went up against 6 other playoff teams this year. They only won 1 of those football games. So they have to step up here. If they can get past Jacksonville, I think it'll be the end of the road for them. But I love the fact that Jacksonville, break them down. You look at their first 6 games that when they had 1-score games they were in, they lost all 6. Then they played 4 more and they won all 4. So this team is peaking right now at the right time against a football team I think's got holes in the Chargers here. I'm with Ryan. I'm on Jacksonville in this game.
Yeah, I think if it was a couple of weeks ago, I'd probably take Jacksonville. I just think that I've seen this before when teams start to get healthy at the right time. That's what you're looking at with the Chargers. And again, I know, but it still looks like Mike Williams will probably play. It looks like Bosa's going to play. You got Khalil Mack. You got Derwin James. The only guy that they won't have is J.C. Jackson, but he was lost a while ago. Even Kyle Van Noy is a playoff-tested guy. So I think that based on everybody now kind of, going out there with Allen and Williams and Eckler and now Palmer and Carter could be 4 and 5s like they belong. I just think that they're peaking at the right time. But I look, this is a flip of the coin game. I think we all agree. You can go either way. Do you believe, Ryan, like Mark said, do you believe that if the Chargers lose this game, Staley will be fired?
I don't. No, I don't. No. I mean, he led them to the playoffs. They made it with a week to spare. No, I don't think he'll be fired. I think he'll be squarely on the hot seat entering next year. You have to take the next step. But they took the next step from last year to this year, making the playoffs. I don't think look, he makes wacky decisions. That's where the NFL is headed. He's ahead of the curve. That's where the NFL is headed. He's just maybe a little more bold about it. But no, I don't think he will be fired. And quite frankly, it would be better for the NFL playoffs if the Chargers won the game because they are capable of giving the Chiefs more of a run for their money than the Jaguars. But I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think with Staley, and I even see it with Saleh with the Jets. Look, this is why when you have young coaches that are being head coaches for the first time, it takes time. You got to learn what you can do and what you can't do. It was fun to do this, or look, these new ideas, or I did this as a assistant, but you can't do this as a head coach. And these are all things that these young coaches learn, and it takes a few years. Maybe Staley will be better for it. I tell you what, if Frank Reich sits out the year, if Staley gets fired next year,
absolutely,
he'll be the head coach of the Chargers probably. That'll be a perfect spot for Frank Reich to return to. All right. So no upsets, Cincinnati, Buffalo guys?
No.
Mark?
No, I think Cincinnati, Buffalo for sure. I think they win easy, obviously, because of who they're playing.
Are you worried about that spread too? It's 13.
Of course.
It's a lot of points, man.
It is, but I'll say this: that the last 10 double-digit favorites in the wild card round have won and covered the spread all 10 times in a row.
That's a great stat because I was thinking in my head, I feel like there's a lot of blowouts in wild card weekend. Good stat, Mark.
Yeah, so the mismatches have worked, in the wild card rounds to begin with, and that looks to be the epitome of the classic case in point. The Cincinnati game I'm a little bit concerned about because of what I talked about earlier and the fact that this Baltimore football team is in what we call a right back revenge rematch situation. It's very, very difficult, and it's been in the past in my database. I looked at these teams that beat a team in a season-ending game and then open up with them in the playoffs. And the team that has this right back revenge in the rematch has won 7 of the 13 games on the scoreboard, and they beat the spread 8 times. So those are numbers that are supportive to Baltimore in a situation like this. And given what I mentioned before about maybe Cincinnati not faring well against other quality playoff type teams, I think this game is going to be closer than the odds makers anticipate.
I'd be with you on the right back revenge game if Lamar Jackson was the quarterback.
I get you.
Yeah, that's not a good situation at all. I mean, it's not just the quarterback; it's the fact that the quarterback Huntley has to go out there without Bateman. He's got Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, and basically that's it. And he's got Mark Andrews. That's it. So if you could cover Mark Andrews, they have no passing game. And Lamar Jackson could make that work. But asking Huntley to do that, that's a big ask.
Who plays better? Not team, not win the game, whatever. Which quarterback plays better when you watch the game and you come away and you say that guy played better? Skylar Thompson or Tyler Huntley?
Thompson.
Thompson? I say Thompson too.
I'm going to say Huntley, okay, for one reason. He's been in the groove. He's been there. He's got a little bit of rhythm and cadence with the football program. Thompson made his first start last week. Now there's suddenly game film on him. Okay. They didn't find the end zone with him last week. I don't think they're going to smell it in this game against Buffalo here again either. So I'm going to cast my vote the other way.
Okay.
Let's move on. So you guys both have the same 3, meaning Chiefs, Jags, Cincinnati at Buffalo. All right. We'll start with Mark. Mark?
Where are we going, Greg? What's the question?
Next round. Cincinnati at Buffalo, Jacksonville, Kansas City. You're taking the Chiefs, and I'm assuming you're taking Buffalo.
I'm going to take Buffalo. I'm going to stay on that Hamlin train, okay? That and the fact that this Buffalo team was the best team in the National Football League, at least to open the season. They were ranked number 1 in overall team defense, number 1 in offense. They had everything, every box checked. They kind of came off of that throughout the course of the season, which was expected. But now it's playoff time, and for a lot of the reasons I mentioned, Hamlin, Cincinnati being exposed, those types of things, I'm going with Buffalo in this football game.
Mark? Ryan?
Kansas City easy over Jacksonville. Whew, the Bengals Buffalo game, obviously the game that was canceled because of DeMar Hamlin. That could be almost every bit as good as the Chiefs Bills game last year. I know that's a high bar. That's the game of the century so far. It could be almost as good.
Must watch TV for sure.
Yeah. Give me the Bills.
Okay.
I'm not confident about that at all. I mean, I could change my mind 20 times on that, but give me the Bills.
All right. And again, I'm taking Cincinnati. So and I'm gonna go ahead and take the Chargers. This is going to be my one surprise in the entire playoffs. I'm taking the Chargers over the Chiefs. As you said, Ryan, this is a team that can hang with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, look, they've got that bad rap of being a bad spread team for a reason. And they're in a lot of close games, and they win a lot of close games because they've got a superior coach and quarterback. I get that, but when you're in a lot of close games, especially against a divisional opponent who is not afraid of you, you're going to be there at the end. And I just think that, the pressure will be on the Chiefs. And if the Chargers can get that first win, because you just talked about it, how they just always seem to lose in the playoffs and it's always negative. But if they get that first win, maybe they get some confidence going. Again, they would be healthier. And I'm just going to say that maybe, because again, the Chiefs still, you get them. Do you trust Juju Smith and this running game? They got a rookie. Do you trust it's Travis Kelce's really such a huge part of that offense. Maybe Derwin James you put on him. That's a great matchup. We've seen it before, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this would be the one playoff upset. And if it is, then I think it's a decent one. I don't think it's a far-fetched idea.
You picking the Chargers to beat
Correct.
the Chiefs? That's what you're doing. Okay. When was the last time the Chargers beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Okay.
But that's okay. Same thing happened with Cleveland and
Pittsburgh.
Turner
Movie classics to find that one.
Remember,
Go ahead,
Mark?
I'm sorry.
Same thing happened with Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Pittsburgh's got like this I don't know, 10, 15 game home streak against the Browns, but in the postseason a couple years ago, Cleveland at Pittsburgh, Cleveland beat them. So
I think it's going to be real difficult, Greg, to find the league's most valuable player bow out in the first round at home in a playoff game. And he's the most valuable player for a lot of real good reasons. The year that he's had, the team that he has. And I think you've got a huge coaching edge in this game. Again, you would have in this game with Andy Reid against Staley if that matchup were to occur.
Okay.
The answer's not that long ago. The first time they met in the 21 season. So 3 straight wins for the Chiefs. Before that, the Chargers beat them.
There you go. And they've been in some close games too. It's just that.
Oh, they're always in close. That's why I said they'll give them a chance.
Yeah.
The scores of the last couple games were Chiefs 30-27, Chiefs 27-24, Chiefs 34-28 in overtime, Chargers 30-24. I mean, the games are always
there you
close.
Go. So, all right, and then so championship time. So you guys got the rematch, Kansas City, Buffalo. I have the Bengals over the Chargers. So which way are you going, Ryan? Chiefs or the Bills?
Chiefs. Until the Bills beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, I'm just gonna pick them to win another thrilling game. I know they beat them in the regular season twice now. They haven't beat them in playoffs. It'll be a neutral site game. I'm very curious where that ends up. But I'll pick the Chiefs. I'm just going to pick Patrick Mahomes to keep rolling.
All right, question. If it's the Bengals and the Chiefs.
I would pick the Bengals.
Okay. So you're going to go with the team who has the other team's number in the postseason, whether it's the Bills or the Chiefs. It would be the Chiefs edge the Bills, Bengals
Correct.
edge the Chiefs. Okay.
Good question. Yes, that's what I would do.
All right. Mark?
Bills and Bills. I'm going to pay the Bills with the Buffalo Bills.
Going with the Hamlin story, the Cinderella Hamlin story,
which I only think is the extra additive to the makeup of this Buffalo football team this year.
Absolutely.
I think they're playing some really good football, and this could be Josh Allen's year also. I mean, they came so close last year, and they played like a team possessed this year right out of the gate. I think they complete the mission this year, so I got to have Buffalo beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I to me, it's the winner of the Bengals and Bills. I think whoever wins the Bengals-Bills matchup will be in the Super Bowl. Okay, so we have 3 different teams. How do you like that? Three analysts, 3 different teams. I have the Bengals, Mark has the Bills, and Ryan has the Chiefs. All right, good start. I don't know if we're going to feel the same way in the NFC. Okay, NFC time, and let's start with these games this weekend. So, look, like I said, even the San Francisco-Seattle game, I'm picking San Francisco, but even this game, I think there's a possibility that we could see some sort of a crazy outcome, only because of the fact that you have a rookie quarterback that has never been in this spot before. Not that Geno Smith has, but I mean, just to ask Brock Purdy, this is going to be a big ask. And then you have Seattle playing with house money. How many times have we seen teams get into the postseason in the last game or two like Seattle has, and then they just go on a run? They just have nothing, they have nothing to worry about. They've got a Super Bowl caliber coach. They have an explosive offense. I'm not picking them, but I'm just saying even that game could be tricky. So I think we're all going to probably have different opinions here. I'm taking San Francisco, Dallas, and Minnesota. So we'll start with Ryan.
I'm taking San Francisco, the Giants, and Dallas. And so you want me to start with the
Sure, go right ahead.
You want me to start with the San Francisco game? Brock Purdy, I would feel what you're saying if he was along for the ride here. If it was like, oh God, I haven't seen him make a big play yet, he's really just riding this defense and riding Christian McCaffrey. And at some point in the playoffs, he's going to have to make a big throw, and I don't know if he can do it. Well, that's all crap, because Brock Purdy isn't just along for the ride. He's the conductor of the train at this point. Like, he's the second rookie quarterback in NFL history with 6 straight games of multiple touchdown passes. So, I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan could probably coach a garden gnome into being a good quarterback. So, no, I think back to Jimmy Garoppolo missing the big throw in the 49ers in the Super Bowl to that receiver who just retired, Emmanuel Sanders. I think of him missing that one throw, and I think, like, they were in the game. Other than that, like, could Brock Purdy not make that throw? Maybe he can, and maybe that makes him more suited for it than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they'll be right there. I think Purdy will have to make a play throughout the playoffs, and I think he can do it. So, yeah, I expect them to beat the Seahawks pretty easily.
By the way, this is another one of those quarterbacks, Ryan, that's not only not a first rounder, but he's a 7th rounder. So do you believe that Purdy can be that, like, one very small percentage guy that goes on and starts and has a successful NFL career?
If he's with Kyle Shanahan, he can. If you're going to tell me that some team's going to Matt Castle him and say, okay, well, they have Trey Lance, so now I'm going to use this one sample size of Brock Purdy, and I'm going to trade for him as the Colts. He's going to be my future quarterback, Brock Purdy. I think you're going to get what the Chiefs got with Matt Castle, which is a quarterback that's not in the same situation where he had success with the Patriots. That's what I think you get. But, yeah, if he's the quarterback, if the 49ers decide he's the guy over Trey Lance, then, yeah, I think he could have success.
Mark?
Well, if you're Kyle Shanahan, you obviously run with a hot hand, and that is Brock Purdy. I believe that he is the first. He'll be the first rookie quarterback to win a playoff game since Mark Sanchez, if he does. And he gets the job done here. Okay, so that's going back a ways.
Yeah.
He kind of reminds you a little bit of like Stetson Bennett, if you will, in a sense. Maybe not quite as accurate as Bennett is, but not even diminutive, but not a big strapping quarterback. But he does get the job done, and they're winning right now with him.
Confidence is a big thing.
It's huge, especially rolling into the playoffs here. And, for instance, either Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance were coming off an injury and were available for the playoffs, Kyle Shanahan would not make the change, and he would be foolish to do just that. What I see in this game against Seattle here is you have all 6 visiting teams all have same season revenge in these football games. They were beat the last time they played them earlier this year. It's rather unique to find that. But when you find that, and it's a division opponent, that really fares well for them because they know the other opponent. They've done well. They had a really good point spread record, 14-7 to the spread in wild card games when it's same season revenge as a road dog, which favors Seattle to the point spread. But this is a San Francisco football team that I think is on a different level here right now. The number 1 best defense in the National Football League, hands down, bar none, and that's what gets you to the Super Bowl. It's what's going to get San Francisco to the Super Bowl here as well. As defense, I think they'll completely shut Seattle down in the contest here. And while Pete Carroll's got a lot of experience having been there and done that before, he's going up against a team here in San Francisco that they beat 5 of the 6 other playoff teams they faced. I don't think Seattle's going to be a problem for them. I think Frisco wins comfortably in this game.
Yeah, Seattle, they're playing on house money also for the future because this is a great opportunity for all their young guys to get experience, and even Geno. Because contrary to what some people might be thinking, Seattle's not picking a quarterback in the NFL draft. Geno Smith's going to be there for a few years. They're going to ride him as long as they can.
He's a free agent.
They'll resign him. And he's going to be there. They're not. No one else is picking him up. He's going to be re-signed. And the good thing is you've got the rookie offensive tackles. You've got the 2 rookie corners, including Woolen. You've got the rookies running back in Walker. I mean, that was a great draft. So there's a lot of young guys. You got Metcalf and Lockett. The future's really bright for Seattle. Unless Geno's asking for some ungodly amount of money that Seattle can't afford, he'll be back at Seattle. and then Seattle can use their draft picks on some other key parts, especially on defense, to get Adams back from the injury. But yeah, this is just one of those seasons where let's just get some experience and move on. But the only thing I'm just concerned with is, like I said, is we'll see if Brock Purdy is the same quarterback in the postseason as he was in the regular season.
Let me ask you the guys this question here. Am I off on a limb that maybe I shouldn't be resting on, but can you not see Geno Smith losing his job next football season here? Is this an aberration that we're seeing from him this football season?
Sounds like Mark thinks that would be unlikely and doesn't think it's an aberration. I'm with you. I totally think this could be a one-off for Geno Smith. Absolutely.
Yes.
And who would be the replacement? What are you saying? You're saying that they wouldn't re-sign him?
No, I'm saying they'd re-sign him and he stinks.
Oh, okay.
Right. And they better draft a quarterback in this draft. That's what they better do.
We'll disagree on that one. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's now talk about those other two games, though, Mark, because I believe you're going with the Giants too, right?
I'm going to go with the Giants against the Vikings. I think the Minnesota Vikings were the most overrated football team in the National Football League. And, it's indefensible when you have a record like they do and your point differential's in the negative. Their defense is as bad as it is. We called out the fact that they were slaughtered in the stats this year. They played 5 other playoff teams, lost the yards by an average of 133 yards a game. Just terrible, just absolutely terrible. They can be exposed, and they will be exposed in this football game. I like the way the Giants are playing. I mentioned earlier here their one-score success here of late. 7 of the last 8 one-score games they've won coming in here. Brian Daboll has his football team playing good right now. They're 10-2 against the point spread as an underdog under his lead this football season. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but we've seen a tremendous maturation, I think, of Daniel Jones this season, and it might come to fruition in the playoffs here. I see the Giants winning over Minnesota in this game.
Ryan, we talked about this numerous times last year, especially, about if you're going to have success with Daniel Jones, he has to run the football. I mean, we just kept at it. He has to run, and if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But he's got to run the football to be successful, and it took a smart offensive coordinator / head coach to get that job done and to make it work. And that's why they're dangerous, because they also, as you know, have Barkley in the backfield, and it's like Sanders and Hurst. That's what the Giants have. It's Jones and Barkley, and it makes them very dangerous, even though they didn't have much of a passing game.
Are you taking them too?
No, I'm taking Minnesota.
Oh, okay. All right. Here's my analysis on the Giants game. First of all, with all due respect, not just to Mark, but to everybody who I've seen cite this point differential stat, I don't really care about the point differential. Like, I am much more. The reason the point differential is out of whack is because they got their rear ends kicked twice. I mean, they lost by 30-something to the Cowboys and by 30-something to the Packers. So, like, those are 2 games. I'm much more concerned with the 11-0 record they have in one-score games, because playoff games are one-score games. So I'm much more interested in the fact that they know how to win close games than I am that they got, their butts kicked on 2 random Sundays. That's why they had take those 2 games out and their point differentials, plus 60. So I'm not that concerned about that. Now, from a straight X's and O's standpoint, and obviously this game is the game I know the X's and O's the best because it's the team I cover the most, I love the matchup for the Giants. For that, I mean, I love it. There's probably only one team in the NFL that I would say the Giants' passing offense has an advantage over their passing defense, and it's the Vikings. Like, the Giants could run the ball with Jones and win the game. They could run the ball with Barkley and win the game. They could air it out. They looked complete when these teams played on Christmas Eve. The Giants looked unlike they have in any of the other 16 games this season. Jones threw 30 completions, career high, 42 passing attempts, career high for a game that wasn't a blowout. 334 passing yards, his most since his rookie year in 2019. They looked totally different offensively than they have against any other team. Why? Because they saw weakness and they attacked it. So if you're Minnesota, you're now saying, oh, the Giants are going to attack our weakness you're preparing for a team that's going to throw the ball 35 times, and the Giants might come out and run the ball with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley 35 times. So I think they have a total game planning advantage. The Vikings offensive line is in shambles while the Wink Martindale is going to blitz the crap out of them and from all different creative angles. The Giants aren't going to have an answer for Justin Jefferson, but it almost brings the analogy of the NBA where you let the best player get his and you just shut down everything else. And to me, that's what's going to happen in this game. And I know that Greg Joseph won the game on a 61-yard field goal when they played on Christmas Eve. He's 4 of 10 this year from 50+. If it comes down to kickers, give me Graham Gano, 8 of 9 from 50+ this year. I think they have an advantage there, too. I think the Giants win the game.
It wouldn't be a surprise to me, not only if the Giants won this game, but if they upset the Eagles. And I say that because the one thing I am worried about the most with the Eagles is that they stumbled a little bit at the end of the season. Hurst, you don't know if he's anywhere close to 100%. And like I said, with the Chargers and the Chiefs, the Giants are not going to be afraid of the Eagles. That doesn't mean that, look, at least the Chargers have some, we were going over the close games. Giants, those games and the last game didn't mean anything, but still games weren't necessarily close this year, talent-wise, and that's not a surprise. But I'm just saying, it wouldn't shock me if the Giants won this game, that they actually either beat the Eagles, upset them, or that's a game that goes down to the fourth quarter.
Ryan, let me ask you this question here. We mentioned earlier that all 6 road teams have revenge from a meeting earlier this year coming into these games. This one only 3 weeks ago when these 2 teams met. Do you foresee these teams with playing a total different game plan than they played in the previous meeting? As a for instance, the Giants are able to pass in the Vikings. Will they focus more on the running game here? Will we see a change of complexion of the playbook strategy for these teams that are coming back in revenge as opposed to what they did the first meeting?
That's Brian Daboll's specialty. I mean, that is he and Mike Kafka, to his credit. I mean, they look so different from game to game that it's impossible to get a feel for what they're going to do. I think in the end, it'll be probably more similar to the Christmas Eve game than different, because the reason they did that is the Vikings' weakness is in the secondary and pass defense. So they're not going to totally abandon that and run the ball into a Dalvin Tomlinson, Harrison Phillips offensive line. I think they'll still lean pass heavy, but I don't think it'll be quite as exaggerated as it was on Christmas Eve.
This is going to be clearly the matchup of, and everybody says it, every game is won at the line of scrimmage. Of course it is. But this is the one matchup, as you alerted to already, Ryan, that it really does matter what's going on in the line of scrimmage for both teams. Because as you know, the Giants do not have a good offensive line outside of Thomas. And then you look at the Vikings, and look, maybe Bradbury comes back. It's possible. And that would be a big boost for the Vikings to have Bradbury blocking Dexter Lawrence. But O'Neill's out, and that's a big blow as far as the offensive tackle. And maybe if Bradbury even comes back, he's probably not going to be anywhere close to 100%. So that whether those quarterbacks or who can dictate the line of scrimmage, probably going to be the team that wins this game. I do have to ask you, though, since obviously you watch everything about the Giants this year, Ryan, is the breakout season for Dexter Lawrence? As a 340-pound nose tackle, we knew he had this in him in his days at Clemson, but to lead the team in sacks, I mean, what is it that they've been able to do with Dexter Lawrence that he hasn't been able to, that no other defensive coordinator has been able to get out of him?
Well, they shifted his position to more of a traditional nose tackle, so he's lining up over the center more than he was lining up over guards in the past. That set him off. And then, look, they have better edge rushers than they've had in the past. So Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari coming off the edge have drawn a lot of attention from the offense, and it's freed up Dexter Lawrence to be a better pass rusher than he's ever been. So there's some coaching aspect to it there, and there's some player development aspect to it there in terms of his own improvements. But no, I mean, he's a 23, 22, $25 million a year defensive tackle there. He's going to take over for Fletcher Cox or whoever, him, Quinnen Williams, Jeffrey Simmons are the next dominant interior defenders.
Yeah, so Williams, Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. On the other side, you've got Hunter, you got Zadarius Smith. So there's a lot of, again, those offensive lines are not very good. So we'll see which team maybe comes up, not only with some big plays as far as sacks and pressures, but when you get sacks and pressures, can you create turnovers from them? And that's so big in the postseason. Before I move on, James, Slayton, Hodgins. I know James is statistically the top guy. Is there nobody outside of New York knows who these guys are, Ryan? So is there a receiver that is better than we think?
Slayton's the big play guy. He's the speed big play guy for sure. If you're saying somebody's going to have 140-yard touchdown, it's him. The go-to guy, I think, is Isaiah Hodgins. I think he's got 5 touchdowns in the last 6 games or something like that. He's become Daniel's go-to guy.
Okay. All right. So now the last game, and that's Dallas-Tampa Bay. Again, I have Dallas. Ryan, you have Dallas. Mark?
I don't have Dallas. I bailed out on Dallas here after watching Dak Prescott play since he came back after missing 5 football games. The guy leads the National Football League in interceptions, and that's despite missing 5 football games this year. I think he finds ways to lose games. He's got choke written all over him. You're putting up against a savvy veteran, the GOAT, in Tom Brady, and doing a situation like this. We all know by now that Brady's never lost a game against Dallas, 7 for 7 on the scoreboard and doing all those types of things. But what we've got here in Tampa Bay, I think that works here is I realize this offense is dreadful, just dreadful. They can't run the football. It's all going to be on Tom Brady here, obviously, unless there's some kind of a breakout from Leonard Fournette, which we haven't seen or got wind of that's even going to happen. But I do love the fact that home underdogs in the wild card rounds have been outstanding in the past. This is one sitting at home here right now playing a Dallas Cowboy football team who has slipped a cotter pin here. And I don't think they're playing anywhere as well now as they were earlier in the football season or projected to be. I smell the upset here with the Tampa Bay Bucs at home.
Ryan, I think that, I don't know. I know it's Tom Brady, but I just get the feeling that the Eagles would prefer to see Tampa Bay than Dallas. You know, I mean, I just can't see Tampa Bay going on the road and doing, I mean, Mark may be right at home and all that. And maybe Dallas is just Dallas and Brady's Brady, but get Tampa Bay on the road the way they're playing this season to play the Eagles, and I just think it's a blowout.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, especially after Tampa kind of blew out the Eagles last year. The Eagles would love that revenge. They don't want to see – Dallas knows them too intimately. I totally agree. They'd rather see Tampa Bay. No doubt. Your only reason Tampa Bay is even in consideration in this game is you say Tom Brady magic, you know, history, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, Tom Brady's not going to be the one who decides to punt from the opponent's 40-yard line. That's going to be Todd Bowles.
And by the way, if Dallas is up by 13 points with 3 minutes to go, the game ain't over.
And by the way, there's a job that could open next on Monday is the Buccaneers.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I can't imagine that if Tampa Bay loses this game, that Todd Bowles is coming back. Can't imagine it. I don't know who their coach would be. I don't know if they coach. I don't think it comes from within, right? I think they go outside.
I mean, I think they got to ask Tom Brady, are you staying? And if so, who do you want to be your coach?
All I'm going to say is 2 numbers to you guys, 46 and 58. They're not the numbers of the players in uniform on either team. It's 46 fourth-quarter comebacks and 58 game-winning drives by Tom Brady. This football team will not be out of the game until the final gun sounds.
Yep.
And just knowing that, I like to have him with the points in my pocket. That's all I'm saying.
It just reminds me a lot, Mark, of Brady's last year with the Patriots, where it's like, oh, well, they're not very good, but they have Tom Brady, and maybe they're going to make a run, and they're at home, and they lost their first playoff game to the Titans. Like, that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, whether or not, like, again, the whole thing for me is Dak Prescott, like Mark was saying. It's not McCarthy, it's Prescott. and again, you can get this in one of the trends from the NFL playbook guide, playoff guide. Dak Prescott 0-3 against this, actually 0-3 as a favorite in the postseason, and he's 1-3 straight up 0-4 against the spread in the playoffs. So, Dak Prescott has improved himself.
Prescott. Right.
As a postseason quarterback, and we know Tom Brady has. And look, Tampa Bay, let's keep in mind the three key guys on defense that they don't have anymore when they won that Super Bowl. Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, and the big blow this season was Shaq Barrett getting injured. That just really killed their pass rush. They may, by the way, before I move on, they may get Ryan Jensen back. That could be a big boost for them to put Ryan Jensen back at center. So keep an eye on that. He's been out, of course, all season. All right, so now we move on to the next round. And I'm going to go with chalk. I'm taking Philly over Dallas, San Francisco over Minnesota. San Francisco, Philly in the championship game. How do you see it, Mark?
I've got San Francisco over Philly in the championship game as well. I think the cream rises to the top here in this NFC championship game. And as far as San Francisco is concerned, and maybe I'm jumping the gun and going a little bit early on this, but remember, San Francisco made it to the championship game last year and they lost at home. Teams who do that in the National Football League and get a chance to come back the next year in the playoffs and they play at home, they've been outstanding in that particular role to make amends, if you will. So give me San Francisco against Philadelphia, and you know where I'll go to the Super Bowl.
Okay. And Mark, Ryan?
So I have Dallas Giants, right? I mean,
you have Philadelphia Giants. And the Giants, correct.
So the Eagles have beaten the Giants 24 of the last 30 times they've played. So give me the Eagles. And then Dallas, and it's Dallas, San Francisco. I got to tell you, if I had gone with the Vikings over the Giants, and this was Dallas, Philly, I might pick Dallas. Yeah. But Dallas, San Francisco, give me San Francisco.
Yep. Okay. And then are you going with the chalk championship game?
Well, that gives me. I just picked it, right? So I picked Philly. San Francisco,
okay.
Right?
Who do you have? Because we both have Mark and I both have San Francisco over Philly.
I'll be different. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie here. I'm concerned about the Eagles. They don't look the same. They look like a team that's picked too early, that peaked too early. I mean, if it was Dallas, I said I'd pick the Eagles. In my heart, I want to pick San Francisco. I think they're the best team. If you want me to be different, I want you to pick who
you want to pick.
give me San Francisco.
Okay. And again,
I could convince. It's just the Eagles just rubbed me wrong as a team that peaked too early.
That's why I think they're susceptible in the first game, even if it's the Giants.
I'll tell you this: if we did this show after the divisional round and Jalen Hurts played well in the divisional round, I would change the pick to Philly. If he plays well, then I'll pick Philly to beat San Francisco. I got to see it to believe it. If he, I'm not even talking about MVP caliber like he was. I'm just saying if he's a factor, he was a total non-factor in week 18. If he's a factor, I could pick them to beat San Francisco. I just can't do it right now.
Yeah, for me, the reason I would stick with San Francisco is because that means Brock Purdy will have won 2 playoff games, and now you've got a San Francisco team on the road. I don't care. Championship game against an Eagle team that has had it's been number 1 seed the entire season. They are going to have some pressure on them. San Francisco has a little bit more experience being in this spot as a team, as a coaching staff. And I would take.
I don't know if I agree with that. The pressure. San Francisco will have won 12 straight games by then. They'll have plenty of pressure on them.
Okay. Pick Super Bowl. I have Cincinnati over San Francisco. Mark.
I've got Josh Allen over Brock Purdy. Just that simple.
Ryan.
I got a rematch of a couple years ago, huh? I got Kansas City, San Francisco. That's kind of a boring Super Bowl, isn't it?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Give me the same winner. Give me Kansas City again. Look,
wow.
Get Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. If they want to be in the like Staubach and Landry or Aikman,
you got to win another
Jimmy
one.
Johnson, Noel and Bradshaw. You better start winning more than one. And getting to 4 straight AFC championships is nice, but that all that does is put you in Marv Levy and Jim Kelly territory. If you want to be one of these great head coach quarterback combinations, which they both do, I mean, they both strive for greatness. There's no doubt about that. They better win another one. And the window is only going to get tighter as Burrow and Herbert and Lawrence, and the AFC is just loaded. You can't waste these opportunities. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, I just hope that any of these coaches. Well, again, the thing is you do have, you have 3 spots open in the AFC, 2 right now in the NFC so far, and probably 3 Tampa Bay loses. And who knows, could be even 3 if Tampa Bay wins and gets blown out by the Eagles. But I just hope if it's, Peyton, Harbaugh, wherever they decide, go to the NFC. I mean, the NFC needs help. We don't need. They have enough good quarterbacks and teams in the AFC
that's
right
the fight.
now.
Bryce Young's going to end up in the AFC now.
I know. Even that is just, come on. I mean, enough already. All right. Now, before I let you guys go, give me a sleeper team. Start with this wild card round. Give me a team. Give me an upset, and I'm not talking Chargers. Give me an upset between, if you had to pick one, between Seattle, Miami, and Baltimore. And that's it.
Keep going. We can't use the Giants. No.
Nope.
Seattle,
I'm making it hard on you guys.
Seattle, Miami, Baltimore. Yeah. Okay.
Which one of those teams, if you had to pick, if you had money and you had to pick it, which one would you pick them to win the game outright?
Baltimore, sure. They have the best defense of all those teams. Baltimore on some sort of Joe Burrow throws 3 picks, 10-9 kind of victory.
And gets sacked 5 times.
Yeah, right. That would be it.
That's how they win the game. 10-9.
I'm with Ryan the same way. Baltimore, the right back revenge, the division opponent, they know one another. Not given any chance. I think they would have the best chance.
All right.
Good coach. Yeah.
I'll take Seattle. And then give us a team that is not the Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the Niners, or the Bengals to win the Super Bowl.
Who?
For me, it can't be anybody in the AFC. It's so clearly like the Chargers, I think, are probably better than most of the teams in the NFC, but it can't be in the AFC. You can't tell me in any good faith at all that anybody is winning the AFC other than those 3 teams. You can't do it. I mean, it's impossible.
Yeah, but the hard thing to think about, though, is that any of those teams winning the NFC having to beat then one of those teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the AFC playoffs are the Super Bowl, basically.
I'll take the Chargers.
You're going to take the Chargers to come out of the AFC?
To win the Super Bowl out of all those teams, yes. This is to win the Super Bowl, not get there.
Yeah, I can't take anybody in the AFC.
Okay. Cowboys?
I was going to say, I would give you Cowboys and Vikings would be my 2 picks. Yeah, Cowboys and Vikings. I picked against the Vikings here round 1, but they beat the Giants. Like I said, they have they have great playmakers. I mean, they have Dalvin Cook and they have Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson, and the Kirk Cousins stuff is so overplayed. He's 1-2 in his career in playoffs. That makes him not play good in big games. He's not 0-8. He's not Marvin Lewis.
Yeah.
So, Vikings I think are a possibility, and Cowboys I think are a possibility.
Mark?
Well, I would have to say, just if for no other reason, based on the odds in Las Vegas, it would have to be the Dallas Cowboys. They're the 3rd choice in the NFC at 5-1 behind Frisco and Philadelphia. I think they would be the logical.
So I give you $100, and whoever you can pick any of those teams, and you're going to put it on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl.
Because most of the all of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC, I think they would be the logical. So most of the all of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC, I think they would be the logical. Because most of the all of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC, I think they would be the logical. Because most of the all of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC, I think they would be the logical. usual suspects are susceptible. I mean, there's nobody here that really rises to the top. It would be Dallas for me in the NFC, and using the same deduction, the odds in Vegas right now, it would be the Chargers because they're the fourth choice in the AFC. And they have a winnable game in their first game, and if you win your first game, who knows what can happen moving forward thereafter. But so my two choices would be the Cowboys and
you don't
the
have
Chargers.
To take two teams, but
well, then I would just give me the Cowboys, please.
All right, Cowboys it is. And that that could happen.
Your only team's the Chargers, Greg?
Yes, I don't believe it's. I don't really believe in any of this other stuff. I don't believe in a lot of these teams. That's why the Chargers are the only team. That's why I said that they were my only upset pick. It's the only team that I can see. It's just
Greg,
such a divide.
Did you believe it? Did you believe in Santa Claus?
Well, I once did, yes.
Yes, okay. So hence he believes in the Chargers. I understand.
I once did. All right, so that's going to wrap things up. Mark, before I let you go, again, the playoff guide is out there. The playoffs haven't started yet. So they have to go to playbooksports.com and get the playoff guide.
Highly recommend it.
I thank you very much. A lot of real good stuff inside of the guide here, from coaches to quarterbacks to odds to how teams did against other playoff teams. Pretty nice, sharp game write-ups within it, all inside the playoff guide, available at playbooksports.com.
And Ryan, you get to cover a team in the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah. I'll be in Minnesota this weekend, and if the Giants keep winning, I'll be in Philly, and if they don't, I'll probably hop on the Buffalo train. So I'll be somewhere most weekends.
I knew I'd get you to Buffalo somehow, Ryan.
I get a kick out of, I don't know if did you guys hear that story about when they had the winter storm in Buffalo, and the guy who rescued 10 or 12 people from the storm? Did you hear that one? No. Okay, so he goes out because his friend is out there. So he goes out there, he helps his friend. And as he's helping his friend, he realizes, or he sees that there's a bunch of other people that have been stranded. So he basically gets all these people together. There's 10 or 12 people. He said he went to about 10 houses in Buffalo asking them for help because they were stranded. They all pushed them away, said no.
Wow.
He had to go break into a high school. He bashed the windows, broke in, and got them in the high school to get warm. And then he was praised afterwards about what a hero. He helped these stranded citizens and got them into the high school. So what I'm thinking is, all you're hearing is last week or two about how great the Buffalo Bills people are. And here you got, would you turn anybody away from a major storm that came to your house and said, we're stranded? Would you really turn them away?
I don't know. I honestly can't tell. I don't know. In this crazy world of people, I don't know. I'm not sure. Guys, a little news for you. The NFL just announced that Atlanta will host the Buffalo-Kansas City AFC Championship game. If it's
where?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. So, okay.
Yeah. A bit of a surprise. I thought it would be Vegas, but
I thought it would be outdoors, honestly. I thought it would be outdoors. Both teams play outdoors. I think that's the only fair way to do it. I'm surprised it'll be a indoor track.
So that's only if it's Kansas City, Buffalo.
Correct. Okay. Yes.
All right.
All right, guys. I got to
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again at some point during the rest of the playoffs.
Ryan, good catching up with you. Good luck and enjoy the playoffs.
I'll see you guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.